was driven by this calling, this deep desire, but I wasn't prepared. And God still had to prepare me. And so I've spent an entire year preparing, getting coaching around it, really like thinking about what do I want this to be. And one day, Leadership Beyond the Title came to me. It just dropped in my spirit. Leadership Beyond the Title. That's what you're all about, TaSheena. You've done this in your life. You haven't had a title. You've been able to explore and do things differently. And so, boom, here we are. Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. And the biggest lesson that I could tell you that being laid off gives you is being able to navigate change. And I guess change is a constant in every aspect of these moments that I've shared with you. But there's also the grief that comes with it. My mom died that day, July 6, 2023. And I didn't see her pass and take her last breath because I walked out of the room for a second, the hospital room for a second, got downstairs, and then got a call immediately. Mommy just passed away. Screaming on the phone, and Mommy just passed away. So I hurried up, tried to get back up there. She was already passed when I got up there. I'm your host, TaSheena Braxton, and I am on a mission to disrupt the industry standard that fancy titles make leaders and teaching my clients how to become leaders and get their own seats at the table. Every week, I will explore a topic that impacts women of color. I will unpack the topic and provide learning so that you can feel equipped to step into leadership. I went from laid off to an entry-level job to a mid-level multiple six figures role where I wasn't the highest on the org chart, but I was able to sit in rooms with CEOs, CFOs, and CMOs without a fancy title. As a mom of 4, a wife, and the eldest daughter of 6, I know what it means to lead in every aspect of your life and to be able to translate that into the workplace. Welcome to the Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. So glad to have you here. Now let's get into it. Hey, y'all. How exciting it is. Woo! Today is the day that I am launching this podcast, Leadership Beyond the Title. And I am just so incredibly excited, so proud, so grateful that I am finally birthing this baby of mine. I have been on a journey to get here. There has been so much back and forth with this podcast thing. And I think it dropped in my spirit that this needed to happen and it needs to happen sooner than later. And so not only am I dropping this podcast today, October 18th, but it's also your girl's birthday. So give it up. Like, hey, give me some birthday love. I would love that. Hit me on the socials, wherever you found me, and just celebrate with me. Celebrate life. Celebrate joy. Celebrate courage. Celebrate being a badass. Celebrate being a leader. Just celebrate with me because life is not promised and life is so short and fleeting. And just to have another day is all we can ask for. So thank you for being here on the launch day of my podcast, but also my birthday. You could be anywhere else, but I am so very glad that you are here with me. So I wanted to kick this podcast journey off with just an introduction of myself to get you to come into my journey, to my story, allow you to see a deeper side of me. And I want to start this story off by just looking back over my life and looking back over how much it amazes me when I think about it, about how much I have been through and the courage, resiliency, and just the plain badass that I have become. I remember as a little girl how free I was and how much I loved life and just how much I really believed I was a leader at a very young age. And likely that's because I'm the oldest of six, and I have always had to be a leader in my own right in some type of way in my life. But I have always believed that I was a leader and always believed that whatever I wanted, I can have it. I've always believed that. I was definitely a girl's girl. I was everybody's friend. And I remember being the girl who wanted to be the friend of somebody who didn't have friends, because there was always this deep sense of belonging and community and just love for other people that I've always had in me. And people may not know that side of me as much because the way that I present is very like confident and hardcore. And my family will always tell me like, Sheena's just mean. But deep down, I just love people so much and I want the best for people. And I am the type of person that does not allow people to live in excuse. Your excuses don't move you to the next level. Your excuses don't allow you to be successful in your life. There is no excuse. And if you have an excuse, there's a way to get around it. There's a way to overcome it, because I am an example of overcoming. I am an example of navigating change. I am an example of doing the damn thing. And I am courage. I am resilient. I am a badass. I am love. I am trust. I am a mom. And the title of this podcast is Leadership Beyond the Title. And I hope this podcast will help you to see how much you are leading and you are being a role model, an example for someone else that we don't often get the chance to show. So, how did we get here to this podcast? How did this even come? I mentioned that there has been so much back and forth with this podcast and bringing this out. So, if I take you back to 2020 in the pandemic, that was probably the first time that I really wanted to start a podcast. And maybe because I was looking around and everybody was doing something, right? And I thought that the podcast would be the lowest hanging fruit for me to do, that I would have the time and the energy to do it in between working my 9 to 5 and doing this. And so what I did was I took Jessica Hurley's class. And if you don't know who Jessica Hurley is, go look her up on Instagram. She is such a phenomenal podcast host, but also podcast creator. And I hope to actually work with her more closer in the future. But I took her class and I did get to work with her a little bit and be on a call with her. But I think when I took that class, it was a little bit premature because I didn't have a podcast name. I didn't have a concept. I didn't have an idea of exactly who I was serving or what I wanted to talk about, because it is important that you understand what the hell are you going to talk about? What are you going to be known for? What is your movement? And it was a journey at that time because I was like, I love the Sarah Jake style, but I also love a little bit of Cardi B, hood but holy. That was me. I can admit, and that's still kind of me. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so it took a couple of years. Here we are in 24, and I'm just now realizing that my movement, what I stand for, is leading beyond a title, being a leader no matter where you are. And I realized that the movement that I've been on, the journey that I've been on, has been leading beyond titles. That is what I am on a mission to allow everyone to know, that you can lead without a title. And what was great about taking Jessica's class was that I received a ton of resources, and she was able to walk me directly through certain things like how to host it, where to get the background music, what kind of mics, what your mic should look like, all the things. And so I got all those resources, but I wasn't ready. And what I learned in that is that sometimes we want something so bad, but we either aren't prepared or we haven't prepared ourselves well enough. We may see what other people are doing and want the same thing, but we don't realize the sacrifice of time, money, and energy it will take until we burn the time, energy, and money. And then we realize that we moved way too fast. And that is what happened to me. I spent money in that program. I bought all the equipment, all the things that I've been having that I'm using today. Paid into different tools and didn't use it. And I just know like Jessica Hurley was the one that I got the most direct training from. But I've also taken Jenna Kutcher's class and other people, other coaches, and looked at their stuff and didn't do anything with it. Okay. I think back because I love Jesus. Let me add a little bit right here is that in the Bible, there's a story where someone is being sifted like wheat. And when you sift wheat, it's like really like going through every little bit of grain, like sifting. And sometimes we need to be sifted like wheat before we actually do what we are supposed to do. And another way to put this is like the pruning. I needed all of that to happen before I could bring this podcast to you because there's a lot of things that have happened in my life since 2020 that has given me the lessons, the skills, the ability to be talking to you right now. And what I learned, when I look back and I reflect, there's a lot of things in my life that I've had to repeat because I moved too fast, because I was just moving and I wasn't paying attention and I wasn't learning the lesson. And then I had to learn and relearn those hard lessons. And so that was something that I learned with just trying to do a podcast in 2020. It wasn't going to happen. It just wasn't going to happen. And I always feel like the time that things are supposed to happen will happen for you when it's supposed to happen. So fast forward to 2023, last year, I was invited to be on a podcast called the Up Level Podcast with Christy Mann. And she is a wonderful coach that I met through my coaching training program CTI, or Coactive Training Institute. And I met her through another coach, Jeff Jacobson. Shout out to him. He has been just amazing for me in my life. I remember taking his class, and then over the years, we've kept in contact. He's been somebody who I followed, even like reaching out to me when I got my master's degree in 2022. He's just been amazing. And he recommended me for this podcast. And I was excited to do it. And we set a date. The date was going to be July 6, 2023. So July 4th of July, I take my kids and my niece to the fair. We go to the fair. And I remember on that day, my mom was really sick and she wasn't feeling well. My mom was diagnosed with cancer in 2017. 2017? Yeah, something like that. And lived through it. And on July 6th of 2023, she passed away from complications of cancer. And this day was the same day that I was going to be on this podcast. Well, on July 5th, the night before, I remember my sisters, we all got on a call. We were talking and we were saying, we need to go to the hospital tomorrow morning. Mommy's in the hospital. It's not looking good. We think this would be the time she's going to pass away. Well, part of me was like, okay, Sheena, you got to take this seriously. The other part was she was just in the hospital in April. She thought they said it was going to be time then, and she came back home. She went back in May. They said it was going to be time then. She came back home. So I think I kind of took it at that time that she'll be back home. Well, while I was recording this podcast that morning of July 6th, I was getting text messages and phone calls. I had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb so they wouldn't interrupt the podcast recording. And it was a lot of urgency and a lot of, Sheena, you need to get to the hospital soon. Well, the hospital is 5 minutes away from my house. So I'm like, it's cool. I got time. I'll do this podcast. I'll be up there in no time. No problem. Still not really understanding the severity of this moment. And shame on me for letting my old trauma response of you need to take your opportunities when you get them. And if you don't, you won't get that opportunity again. We all get those messages growing up. And so I had my own internal fears of asking to record another day and to pause, because I don't want to be wasting anyone's time. I don't want someone to be thinking, oh, she's not reliable. And so I didn't ask to do it another day, but I also didn't fully show up like I could have shown up on that day. And you never forget the moment when you look in your mom's face, and I'm just tearing up now as I think about it, of your parent passing away. It's something that is just so hard to even understand. It's something that's so hard to even comprehend in any type of way. And it was such a moment that I won't forget, because all of a sudden my mom lost her voice. And I think about the lesson in that when we get in hard moments and when times are difficult and when we just don't know if the threat is real, how quickly our voices leave us, how quickly we don't have words. We can't move. We're paralyzed. We're stuck. And I think about my mom in that bed, and all of my sisters and my brothers around her, my aunt, my grandmother, my dad, were all around her, and she couldn't move and she couldn't speak. And no matter how much you want to give that person permission or encourage them to speak, how much the voice just does not come out. And this is something that will be a theme throughout this podcast, is that what happens when we lose our voice? What happens to how much we die inside? And so when I think about that day, being on that podcast and having to speak about bringing humanity into the workplace, how significant that moment was, that sometimes we cannot bring humanity into the workplace because our voices have been lost, have been taken away. My mom died that day, July 6, 2023. And I didn't see her pass and take her last breath because I walked out of the room for a second, the hospital room for a second, got downstairs and they got a call immediately. Mommy just passed away. Screaming on the phone, and mommy just passed away. So I hurried up, tried to get back up there. She was already passed when I got up there. So when I think about my ability to not ask for a new date to record, I think about how we should stop being afraid of our own boundaries and being able to put our needs first, because opportunities come, they just may look slightly different. That October, I thought I was going to host my podcast. I thought I was going to birth it. I thought it was going to come to life. It didn't, because it was too soon. I was driven by this calling, this deep desire, but I wasn't prepared. And God still had to prepare me. And so, again, remember, like I said, sometimes you try to do stuff and God is still pruning you, still sifting. And so I've spent an entire year preparing, getting coaching around it, really like thinking about what do I want this to be. And one day, Leadership Beyond the Title came to me. It just dropped in my spirit. Leadership Beyond the Title. That's what you're all about, TaSheena. You've done this in your life. You haven't had a title. You've been able to explore and do things differently. And so, boom, here we are. Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. So who am I? I am the oldest of 6. I'm a wife. I'm a mom of 4. I have 3 boys and a daughter. My daughter is the second child. I always have to say that, because when I say 3 boys and a girl, because it sounds better like saying it. It flows better. But my daughter is not the last. She is the second. I'm a pet mom to my dog Coco, who was adopted at a work offsite, and she is just as spoiled as a human child. I was born and raised in San Francisco. I am still here. This is what I call home. But within San Francisco, growing up, we moved a lot. I have moved so much, but how it has benefited me is that it has allowed me to be in community with so many different people and so many different races and ethnicities, from Asian to Hispanic to Black to white. You name it. Like, I've been in community with people from all different races, which is why equity and inclusion is so central to my work, because I know what it's like to be marginalized, but I also know what it's like to have lots of privilege. And there are things in my life where I'm very privileged, and then there are things in my life where I am marginalized, but I have the empathy and the understanding to know and to be able to work through it. Why did I become a coach? I became a coach in 2017, but I knew in 1999 that I wanted to do something significant with my life, because 1999 was the year that I became a domestic violence survivor. I had a high school sweetheart, graduated, went to college, got to college, kind of was like, I'm tired of this relationship. There's so many other people. Let's explore. If things don't work out, we're meant to be, we'll be back together. This wasn't necessarily his plan, nor was it what he wanted to do. And I ended up having my first abusive situation at City College of San Francisco, and was hit so bad that here we are, October of 2024, and I couldn't tell you exactly what happened from that day. I just know I woke up in a hospital. They weren't sure if I would remember much. I remember clothes that they sent home with me in a bag, all bloody. I remember being in courtrooms and briefly seeing photos, but the lawyer keeping it away from me so that I wouldn't, have a panic attack maybe. I remember going back to that relationship and experiencing emotional, physical, mental abuse. I remember being pushed at work in front of everybody, being stalked almost. I remember being choked almost to the point of strangulation. I remember going through this situation and believing he loved me by what he said, but questioning if he loved me because of what he was doing. And I'll never forget where it all ended is when he kicked my door in. And if it had not been for my brother being in that house that day, I may not be here today. And this experience, I don't wish on anybody. And it's an experience that I don't take lightly, but I'm also not afraid to share and go into detail with people about, because I knew from that moment on that I was going to be the walking testimony and that I was going to be the one to help other women grow and develop and understand when they were in situations that could potentially kill them. I ended up not having therapy or anything like that, but I was smart enough to go surround myself in community and with people that could possibly help me or guide me. I was 18 years old. Literally October 17th, 1999 was when this situation happened to me the first time. And hey, here we are, October 18th, 2024. So this podcast is more than just a podcast. It is something special to me because October has been meaningful for me in so many ways. And what I did was I started working for an organization called Casa de la Madre in San Francisco. And sorry, y'all, I can't roll my tongue. But I started working for this organization, which is basically a domestic violence support organization. They have different shelters and they do different courses for domestic violence survivors, but they also train you to be one of the supervisors or support staff inside of the shelters as well. And so I did that for some time to understand domestic violence a little bit more. So I took a whole course to learn about it because clearly I didn't understand it when it was happening to me. And when someone asks, well, why did you go back? There's a psychology behind that. It's more than just, I want to go back and be abused. It's really this idea that I believe somebody really loves me. And I believe somebody is really sorry until I believe they aren't. And so I learned this. I was able to navigate through this and get out of that relationship. But I want you to know that there will always be signs in your life that will guide you and will tell you to do something or not to do something. And it takes a lot of courage and trusting yourself in order for you to move or to stay. And you have to listen to your gut. With the inception of a lot of technology, we don't have enough quiet time and enough time to sit and to think. But in those quiet moments when no one's around, that is the time you can listen to your soul, to your heart, to your gut. That is when you hear God speaks, is in those quiet times. And sometimes you just need that quiet time to be able to trust yourself. Trusting yourself is a critical skill for leaders. And we'll talk about that on future podcast episodes. But it's just this ability to be able to trust who you are. when I became a coach because I wanted to help people. I wanted to be somebody's friend. This has been what my life has been about. And I was introduced to coaching because someone saw something in me, my presence in the workplace, and just came to me one day and was like, you should be a coach. You should look into that. At that time, this was 2016 or 2015. I didn't know what coaching was. And I sat on it for a long time. And finally, I was able to enroll in the course. And when I enrolled in this course, I fell in love with coaching, which was the coactive training coaching certification that I ended up getting. But I fell so much in love with this coaching that I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Now, previously, I thought I would end up in like learning and development, or AKA training and development. I thought I was going to be just doing, things like that, like hiring people, onboarding people, training, facilitation, courses, things like that. But then there was something about coaching that didn't need me to be the expert. And it fulfilled my desire to help people in a way that I didn't have to make decisions. I didn't have to tell you what to do. I only had to guide you and encourage you and pull it out of you so you can do what you knew you were supposed to do. And so I, at the time, which was interesting, asked for financial backing from my organization, from my boss. And at the time, they said, no, it doesn't have anything to do with your job. And I had to really, really go deep to sacrifice both time and money in order to continue with these courses. We're talking about maybe almost $1,500 a course. I had to take 5 of those at $1,500 a piece. And then for the certification, it was about 10 to 15 grand. And I had to do this on my own because I had a boss who did not see in me what I saw in me and who understood what the future would bring. God knows what you need, and he's going to present stuff to you and make it plain for you and give you hints. And so you have to find those times to listen and to be in quiet and to hurry up and write it down if you need to. Have a piece of paper and a pen next to your bed just in case it comes to you in your dreams or in your quiet moments, because look where I'm at today. I had someone who didn't believe in me, and had I not believed in myself, I may not be here today. And so you have to know that you can't allow people, money to stop you. You have to go forward. And this is the same thing with my master's degree. Initially asked my job for backing, did not get the financial backing at first, but I kept raising my voice. I kept talking about it and finally got it. But when I got to the school, I said to myself, I am too damn old to be sitting in this room. Or I was on a Zoom room at that time because it was the pandemic, but I'm too old. I'm older than everybody. Hopefully my face still look young. But I'm thinking I'm too old. And who am I to go back to school at 40, right? But I believed in myself, and I believed in my ability to be able to not allow age, money, or people to stop me at all. And it was an incredible experience because I have a gift of seeing what's coming. And I've taken a lot of training classes and a lot of things outside my coaching and outside of my master's program that I did not get financial backing for, but I paid for anyway because I knew that it was something, that it was a skill that I would need. And this is something that I work with my clients on. I have a process or a way. I've literally had to take what's outside in my brain, put it on paper to help my clients go through like what's coming in the industry that you may want to hop on now so that you're prepared for when opportunity hits. And that is something that I pride myself on, because when I wanted to take my coaching classes, not everybody was taking coaching classes, but now everybody and their mama got a CTI certificate. Literally, the entire team that I was working with, maybe except for a handful, has a CTI training or some type of coaching certification. And it was something I saw years ago. And that master's degree in OD, when you look at job descriptions, you'll see a lot of people say organizational development is a skill that they, is that they hope that someone has. I got it because I've been able to see. And so I don't allow people to get in the way of my dreams, because my dream is my dream. God put that in me. And so you have to be able to continue to move forward and not let anyone to be a dream killer, because people will try to put their own beliefs on you or their own limitations or their own doubts about themselves on you and make you think that you can't do it, or it doesn't matter for you, or it's not the thing that relates to your job. I mean, that's neither here nor there now, but I got that degree. I got that certificate. So the last thing that I want to talk about that was a pivotal moment in my life. I've talked about being a domestic violence survivor. I've talked about becoming a coach, getting my master's degree. I've talked about my mom passing from cancer. But your girl has been laid off twice in her life. And the biggest lesson that I could tell you that being laid off gives you is being able to navigate change. And I guess change is a constant in every aspect of these moments that I've shared with you. But there's also the grief that comes with it. And on that podcast last year that I did of the Up Level podcast, I remember us talking about how change management is grief management, because we all go through so much grief when things change, whether we're laid off, whether we lose a family member, we may be put on a new team, we may get a pay cut, we may have to move to a new home from your childhood home. There's so much grief that comes with change. And I want you to know that organizations should do better about normalizing grief, because even if you aren't the person laid off, you may have had a friend that's laid off, and there's some grieving that comes with that. And having the systems in place in order to help the grief process is something that is necessary and is important for us to always remember. When you're navigating change, it's more than just, okay, what's the A, B, and C thing we need to do? But we need to tap into the heart place to say, why is that important anyway? What is it that we need to do? Who do we need to be for that person? How should I show up in a relationship with this person? And not just the person, but with myself. Because energy jumps off between two people all the time. It's a back and forth. And so what you energetically feel, I may feel as well. And so some leadership lessons I want to share with you today is being prepared and having patience is essential. When you reflect on the times you jumped into projects without a foundation or a plan, there will come a moment where you are going to learn that wanting something deeply doesn't always mean you're ready for it. You may want that new job. You may want that new role, that new project. How are you preparing? How are you getting ready? This appears to be a microwave society, but it isn't. there's actually work and things that people are doing in the background to prepare. You have to truly understand what goes into making your dream become a reality, and not falling for the trap of rushing or investing in things or just burning resources. You don't want to do that. So preparation and patience are essential. The second thing is set boundaries and prioritize your needs. My experience with my mom's passing on the day of my podcast speaks volumes about the importance of setting boundaries. I didn't set a boundary that I'm literally in a fire right now, and I cannot talk to you about this podcast topic. But I was so afraid. I was so afraid because I didn't have boundaries. I didn't understand my own worth. I didn't understand my own value. Whether it happened on that day or another day, I was going to try to do my best. And it didn't get published the same day, so why couldn't I have asked for more time? So you have to respect your own needs and know that opportunities will come again. Sometimes they just look a little different. And then the third thing is to embrace vulnerability and seek support. When you are navigating major life changes, such as the change that I was navigating from being in a domestic violence situation, from experiencing a layoff, there's so much vulnerability that comes with that. But the strength is when you ask for help. It takes so much courage to change and lean on others, and the resilience that it builds in you can help you grow immensely. This is where you pull from those lived experiences, and it's going to help shape you into the person that you're becoming. And so I want to end with this. This podcast is not just a podcast for me to talk and for me to try to be relevant. This podcast is me birthing something to give to you, to help you as you move to your next level, whatever that next level may be. Only you can define it. Because sometimes the next level is not the promotion. Sometimes the next level is the demotion. I went from a people manager role in retail to an entry-level role in biotech. The gift is not how you start, it's where you finish. It's the journey that you're on. And it's the ability to see, to tap into your gut, tap into your intuition, understand that you are more than just that title. There's so much more about you. When you wake up in the morning, recite your I am. I am bold. I am courageous. I am curious. And of course, you may not believe them the first time you say it. Keep saying it. You'll believe it one day. I think what we put out into the world comes back to us. So I hope that as you continue to listen to this podcast, first of all, share it with someone. But you'll also hear me go deeper on these stories that I've shared here. This is just a taste. There's so much of a journey that we're going to be on together. And as always, connect with me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. I'm going to share lots of stories, lots of how it relates to leadership, because I want you to be able to get to where you're going by what you hear from me. So, love y'all. Happy birthday to me again. Thank you for being here on this podcast launch, and I will see and hear from y'all later. Bye. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, hit like, follow, and leave a comment. Share with your friends, family members, and other women of color leaders. Inside my one-on-one leadership coaching program, I will help you become the leader that you want to be with work-life integration and peace. By tapping into networks, growing your visibility and confidence, You will go from untapped, unseen, and underrepresented to attracting opportunities to take your career and your life to the next level. I use an equity-centered lens in my approach so that you feel seen, safe, empowered, excited, and committed to attract, create, and land opportunities in an unconventional way. To work with me, join my email newsletter, or to learn more about me, click the links in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to being your coach. See you next week.